So about editing. Now, as an author, as authors, we know how writing the book works, right? And I myself have gone through this where I felt that when I'm done writing the book, it's
Mm-hmm.
over.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized it's not over. There's a whole new set of things that are supposed to happen once the manuscript is done.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, first of all, what does editing a book actually mean? So is
Mm-hmm.
it something that us as authors do during the writing of the manuscript, or it's something that somebody else needs to do for us? So let's go with the basics. What does editing mean?
Okay, now if you look that up on the internet, you're going to see a lot of definitions when it comes to editing. So
Hmm.
there will be definitions that cover copy editing, for example. There's also content editing, and then you would also see proofreading as part of the definition for that. So
Hmm.
really, there are three categories to that. Now, the first thing that I'd like everybody to understand is copy editing. Copy editing is very simple. It's really you have a copy, so the text that somebody writes or the manuscript, and then what the editor does is reviews that, looks it over, checks it for grammatical errors, the structure of the sentences, punctuation, capitalization, and then even the accuracy of let's say the accuracy of the spelling of names. That's also part of your copy editing. Now, copy editing still has certain levels. You have your basic editing, and then you have what they say is a deeper level of edit. Now, when it's just basic editing, then that means this usually happens when the manuscript is well written, and all that the editor needs to do is really just clean it up. That means making sure that capitalization is great, punctuation is great, and spelling is correct, and your simple grammar errors are corrected. However, there are certain manuscripts that when an editor reads it, they notice that there needs to be changes in the structure of the sentences, the flow of the ideas. Now that becomes a higher level of edit or a deeper level of editing. So your copy editing, therefore, is also done in certain levels. Now there's still content editing. Now, what is that? That means that when the editor has to go and rewrite some parts of the manuscript, because they're gonna need to either add content to it or remove content from it, that it becomes content editing. Now, I mentioned the third definition, which is proofreading. You're probably wondering, is it proofreading, the editing part as well? Now, proofreading really, technically, if you have to go and look at the definition, that is when you go and check the laid out part of the book. So it's not the manuscript anymore, but that means that it's been designed with a graphic artist, and it's the final level of editing that a book goes through. That means the book has finally been laid out, and the proofreader, all he or she needs to do is really just check the cosmetics of the book, how it looks. That means because it's already been fully edited, that it should be a quick review. It's not a thorough check on the content of the book.
Okay, got it. So this means that an author would actually need both an editor who would do, depending on the quality of the manuscript, either copy editing or structural editing, so something more in depth. And
Mhm.
once the layout is done, and we'll discuss about the layout a little bit later, somebody would be proofreading the whole thing, right? So one more time, because
Mhm.
I noticed that too. What happens when you put a manuscript into layout is certain sentences kind of tend to hang somewhere. The chapter needs to end in a proper way and needs to start in a proper way as well. So the proofreader would probably just make sure that the aesthetic of it
Yeah.
is great. So this happens after the layout is done, right?
Mhm. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Would it be the same person, like can the editor do the proofreading as well, or would an author look for somebody else to do the proofreader,
You know,
the proofreading?
the funny thing is, because we work with a lot of editors, that we've asked them
Mm-hmm.
if they could also proofread the laid out book, and most
Yeah.
of them, what they say is they would rather that another person does that, because they've gone through the whole copy, and
Mm-hmm.
when they have to do the proofreading at the end, because they've read it that it's not fresh anymore, that they
Mm-hmm.
may not actually catch the
Mm.
little things that a fresh proofreader would see.
I got it. Thank you. So next question is super important. We understood what editing is and the type of editing we would be looking for. Where in the world do we find the best editor for what we need? Or where do we find editors in the first place? Like, where do they hang out?
Where do they hang out? Over the internet. So you know how you mentioned earlier that there are so many things that you can do because of the power of the internet now. Well, you can also look for people to hire over the internet. I mean, your virtual assistants, your designers, you can actually find them over the internet. But how do you know that these are good people to edit your book? Well, that's where good research comes in. So it's as simple as looking for editors for hire, freelance editors. And when you find them, then you have to make sure that you're also smart about the way that you look for the right people. That means you read whatever it is that they have there. Most editors right now, they have their own websites. So, and you would also see that there are testimonials for these people. So it's also very important that you check the feedback that you see on the website. Now, of course, because it's the editor's website, that you know that they pick the testimonials that they would place there. But if you ask around, uh, let's say it's on Fiverr, because you can also find editors on Fiverr, and they have
Mm-hmm.
the link to their own websites. You would also see actual testimonials for people on Fiverr. So, and you can trust the testimonials that you see there. People rank the editors, people give feedback. So feedback is very important. So do the
Mm-hmm.
research right, and you will end up with a good relationship with the editor. And I always suggest, when you're looking for somebody, before you even go and hire them, it's like an interview process. Talk to them, vet them, so that you know that you're finding a perfect match for your book.
Mm. Got it. So now this is important. We don't just go on a website and pick an editor up, but we can actually talk to them, and think it would be a good idea for them to, or for us to test whether they're good in their field. They're good in, not in their field generally speaking, but also that they have done work on similar books with
Yeah.
our book, right? Because it doesn't help me if he's an editor of I don't know, yeah, of a cookbook if I'm doing nonfiction, right?
Yes. So usually, Andrea, you would see
Mm,
that you would see what kind of genre they're experts
mm-hmm.
on. So there are people, for example, who specialize in cookbooks, and then
Yeah.
there are people who specialize in business books. So you
Mm-hmm.
can check that, and in their profile, you can also see that. Now, I mentioned earlier that you need to go and communicate with them. It's a way
Mm-hmm.
of you assessing them, getting to know them.
Yeah.
You would also be able to see if this is a good editor. Let's say the person replies an email. Just looking at the way that they respond to you, if the way that they phrase their email is well done, then you would know that this is somebody who would do a good job with your book. If you can see that the
Yeah.
email, for example, is they're an email, they're messy on email, then why would you go and have your book, your manuscript edited by this person?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there you go. This is their efficiency and pro efficiency knocking at the door even before you get to meet them.
Hardly,
So
yes.
this is really interesting. Yeah. So I guess that this is how, just by talking with them and doing research and asking for, do editors have portfolios? Like, could you ask for them to give you to show you samples of their work?
Yes, at Black Card Books, when we qualify them, so we do the same thing. We look
Mm-hmm.
for them over the internet because we're continuously looking for people that we could hire as our editors. Now,
Mm-hmm.
it's you can ask them to send you samples of the work that they've already edited. They would even send you the form in Word where you would see their actual edits on the manuscript. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
you can request for that so that you can also evaluate if they're good at what they do.
Good. So I'm liking this approach. It's like when you get an editor, it's almost like you're hiring somebody
Yes. Yeah,
to, yeah, it's not
you
you
really are.
shopping out of an online shop, but you're really hiring somebody to do some work for you. So I really like this approach. Um, Louis, how long should it take for an editor to do a thorough editing on the book?
Mhm. Okay. Now the length part, that's a bit tricky because
Mm,
it really depends on the actual length of your own manuscript. So usually what happens is you if you had to go and have them edit your book, and then let's say you're looking at a timeline, it's
mhm.
always best that you send them the manuscript, and then they themselves will tell you how long it's going to go and take them to get it done. But if you're looking at a standard book, now at Blackcard Books, our standard book is at 112 pages. That would
Mhm.
take from 5 to 14 business days to get done. Now, why
Mhm.
does it vary? Why can it be, let's say if it's just 112 pages, why can't you just say 5 days?
Mhm.
Remember that it's also dependent on how well written the manuscript is. So, your editors will also assess how long it would take them to edit your book, depending on how well it's written.
Mhm.
If they see a lot of errors just by going through the manuscript, then they will tell you that it will take them 14 days to get it done. But if it's
Yeah.
very well written and they just have to and make sure that they clean it up and they're only looking at a basic edit, that should be
Mhm.
done in 5 days.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. So I feel we're really good with this information now. Of course, we won't go into the details of pricing simply because these vary so very much. So I think ideally you would be, again, you're hiring this editor, right? So you don't have to hire the first person you see. Just make a selection, do 3 to 5 interviews, see which one fits best, from all perspectives, including the financial one. So I'm guessing that, now you can confirm with me, Louis, but I'm guessing that an editor will be able to tell me how much it costs me, how much his work
Yes.
costs, only after he sees and assesses the manuscript, right? Okay. And
Yes.
and
Now
would
you
he?
mentioned
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
uh, sorry to interrupt. You mentioned about uh, we're not going to go and look at pricing because it does vary, and again it
Mm-hmm.
depends on how well written the book is. So usually for pricing, it's always best to show them and they tell you themselves what how much they feel would be the right price to edit the
Mm-hmm.
book. And that also includes, so that includes the price and also how long they're going to go and do it. Now, I like how you mentioned that, you don't, when you find an editor and you look at the profile, feedback is good and you think, okay, this is it. Like you
Yeah.
said earlier, talk to 3 to 4 people and then
Mm-hmm.
assess the way that they communicate with you, and that also includes them evaluating your manuscript to tell you how much it would cost and how long it would take them. And you would see, like, if somebody's pricing, for example, is too far off compared to the other three, then that gives you an idea on what the price range should be for your book. That
Mm-hmm.
also includes the timeline. If one person is too far off when it comes to the timeline that they provide, then it's probably an inexperienced editor that that you're reviewing.
Yeah, that's great. And so, what the expectation is, once they see the manuscript, they will give an author an estimated a price, right? And that price would basically include everything, right?
Yes.
And it's custom that they just give you the full thing and not something like, well, I'm charging, I don't know how much per word or per day worked or anything like that. They would just give like the full price, right?
Yes, they would give you the full price because they've seen the
Mm-hmm.
full manuscript. But you will also find people who charge by the hour or by
Yeah.
the page. But really, for me, the person has to go and assess the whole manuscript, because then again, if it's per page and they've never really seen your manuscript,
Yeah.
then I'd feel that the pricing would be unfair.
Mm-hmm. So this is again, we could say this is again a sign of inexperience from an editor who says, "Well, I'm going to edit anything, and it's this much amount per day or per hour," because they don't know it, and indeed it is unfair to the one who has a really, really great manuscript and doesn't need
Yes,
all the
the
all
deeper.
the attention that yeah, exactly, that somebody else would have. So
Yes.
great points, and this is how guys, keep this in mind. And when you're interviewing your editors, just have all these points, and I feel you have the tools to even recognize who's experienced and who's not experienced. So do use this, and let us know if you have any questions on the topic.